I really like the idea in Destiny that whenever we do raids and dungeons, the weapons are often focused around whatever we're fighting. And I really like that. And I think the perks that drop on these items should also reflect that from time to time. And I touched on this just a little bit in a video I did a year ago where I talked about kinetic weapons maybe need reworked. So this is kind of a sequel or a spiritual successor to that. And there should be like a link to that on screen. Anyways, in that video, I included a Hive-themed kill clip effect as a concept, and I explained that, if we made this could be on loot dropped in high-level activities that are focused on the Hive. So things like Crota's End, or even like King's Fall, things like that center on the Hive. And I introduced that idea because I feel like sometimes we need an increase to some of the more RPG aspects in Destiny. And I think by adding faction or faction hate based traits, I think that could help do that. One commenter specifically on that kinetic video really enjoyed that idea. So yeah, I'm basically letting it rip. Going to be making 3 traits for each faction, 1 utility, 1 damage, and 1 origin trait. They're all going to have a variety of different things they do. That's just kind of my baseline of what I'm trying to get accomplished in this. All right, let's go, starting off with the Hive. So if you don't know, the Hive already have a few traits and origin traits along with the one I made up in that previous video, but we could do 3 more. It's the Hive. So starting off with our utility focus perk, this is ideally our left slot perk in most weapons. I think it's important for the Hive to incorporate melees. It's just kind of a common theme with them, the sword logic, all that stuff. So drawing this weapon after dealing melee damage of any kind gives a handling boost and a movement speed boost for a short duration. Rapid final blows extend this time. On swords and glaives, successive melees grant sword charge and shield charge. Final blows on Hive have a chance to partially reload this weapon. So it's a small reload buff in Hive activity. So if this drops from a higher level Hive activity, it's naturally going to be better in that activity, and that's something I enjoy. Then going in and making swords more effective against the Hive, I think that's a nice thing. This could be really good on shotguns. You get a melee kill swap to a shotgun. You're moving faster. You get up from sprinting faster with it and ready to aim. So you could just chain kills, melee or with the shotgun, and just keep moving. And I really like the idea that gameplay loop can work in PvE. So yeah, moving on to our damage perk idea. I already made a Hive damage perk in that kinetic video, but let's go with another one. We're going to call it Lucent Fly or something. That's like the concept name, Basically, this perk creates a Lucent Moth on precision kills. This moth is aligned with your weapon's element, of which only light-based damages will be accepted. The Void and Arc Moths already exist. The Arc Moth's blind. Void Moths give you overshield or your teammates overshield. So let's be goofy. Make a Solar Moth. This Solar Moth acts as a mini gunpowder gamble. You shoot the moth and you make a wide radius explosion that does decent damage. I think that's a pretty fun one. It's a damage perk, but it could also blind, make a big fireball, or give you overshield. I think that's pretty interesting. Rounding off the Hive with an origin trait, we already have multiple Hive origin traits, but hey, what's another? So this perk is for Guardians who remember the Great Disaster, a battle where many met their last deaths and Crota revealed himself. The battle was such a failure, the moon was banned until we went there in Destiny 1. This origin trait won't save you from the Hive, but they will think twice about fighting you. Well, this weapon penetrates night shields. While standing in Wizard Darkness Shrouds, you deal increased damage. And being damaged by Cursed Thrall explosions makes you amplified. Tell me what you think about the Hive trait ideas I came up with. This seems like a decent moment to bring up my good friends at Advanced GG, who, whenever you buy their products, they pay me if you use my link in my code, Spycer10. Anyways, I love their focus formulas, their energy formulas, favorite flavor, probably guava berry, saying that for a while now. Really love it. If you can get sour gummy worm, another heater. Absolutely love it. Then hydration formula is there if you want that. Rainbow Burst is really good. And I've been trying out their sleep formula stuff whenever I've been trying to go to sleep, and I just, I'm a little too wired for whatever reason. I get that second burst at like midnight, and it's like, oh, I planned on sleeping. Well, sleep formula helps a lot with that and helping you calm down, settle, and be able to go to sleep. Anyways, go check out Advanced GG. I love their products. Ton of respect for them. Go check them out. But we're moving on to Fallen. I'm not an Elixir hater, but hey, they deserve some love or some hate, I guess. So let's just roll into it, starting with utility. Scrapper is like the concept perk idea, and it's themed around the Fallen or the Elixir. After the Whirlwind, they needed to learn how to use scrap to make everything. So utility perk that focuses on elemental pickups would make sense, at least to me. Maybe refill or overflow the magazine with a large stability buff depending on the stacks, which vary based on the pickup. Traces and shards give the least, but a tangle would give the most, is what I'm thinking. Next up, the damage perk. Initially, I thought about making a perk that dealt extra damage to constructs, but without stepping on the toes of deconstruct. So instead, how about a one-for-all type of perk, but dealing damage against constructs and shanks increases damage per stack, with Fallen taking more damage and Scorn too, but just a lesser buff against Scorn. As an origin trait, the Cursed Thrall Explosion origin trait, we're going to steal from that a little bit, where after casting your class ability, during a short duration, your precision kills will trigger a small web mine type effect, dealing a little bit of damage in a decent radius, but it adds disoriented to targets. Let me know down below what you think of those Fallen trait ideas as we move into the Cabal. The Cabal, they're big, they're tanky, and we've stepped into a war with them on Mars. It's the Cabal of Torabottle. It makes sense for the perks to be themed around the enemy faction most similar to old ancient humanity, so let's just do it. They already have some, but as a utility, one of the Cabal's many annoyances is the shield phalanxes. The shields can get to be a bother, so why not throw it back at them? I mean, use it on them. How about breaking elemental shields or killing phalanxes grants a small stacking overshield? Then as a damage perk, how about we go and take advantage of some bungie physics? What if we use the bullshit Scion Void launching? Getting a precision kill launches nearby combatants upwards and flinches them. Of course, this would only really move lower tier enemies, but if you could displace them to make it easier to hit them and make it harder for them to hit you, I think that is a good trade-off. You could, if there's a group of snipers really far away from you, you get a headshot, they all get launched upwards, you're able to pick them off. But for an origin trait, let's move on. One of the Cabal's most powerful technologies within the Destiny universe is the ability to jam Paragozal powers, like we saw in Destiny 2 The Red War and Season of the Chosen, and even in Witch Queen. So how about channel a small amount of super energy to be able to cancel Paragozal abilities from targets? So like, you could hold the reload button on your, auto rifle, and it will load up a jamming shot where if you hit it, it will stop a Dread from using its abilities or a Loosen Hive. It just cancels Paragozal stuff. Let me know what you think of those in the comments as we move on to the Vex now. The Vex, meaning there's a ton we could work with there alone. And they have a ton of stuff surrounding them in the past couple of seasons, but we ball and we come up with something, okay? Utility, Goofy, I know, but I don't think there's enough movement traits for weapons in Destiny. So in order to change that, how about a Vex time blink that moves you forward a short distance after getting a kill and holding reload? After the blink, your weapon will be reloaded, meaning on some weapons you reload faster and get to move faster, and possibly into safety if that's how you want to run with it. Next up for our damage perk, in case you didn't know, Vex Tech is what turned Siva into the Neo Mooney Quicksilver. So how about we take the bonus damage idea of nanotech tracers and apply that to Vex weapons? You know those little shit fucks that cage you? Well, what if we use them? Maybe instead of caging, it deletes combatants from the timeline or something Vexy like that. Honestly, I'd be fine with the cage too. It just, you can't damage me, I can damage you though. I don't hate that. Next, as an origin trait, we already have a reload-based origin trait, but I wanted one that was unique and special. So imagine a 15-second cooldown to make an oracle on kill. This oracle will periodically fill a small portion of your magazine from reserves as long as you are near it. But why stop there? Allies also have their mags loaded by the oracle. This oracle is a construct and can be destroyed or hit by rockets by your less than fortunate or intelligent teammates. Let me know what you think of these Vex ideas as we head into basically the later half of this video as we touch on the Taken, the first DLC added faction. The Taken, of course, were the first faction added after Destiny 1, and they're tied mostly to a very beloved expansion that means a lot to many people. So yeah, let's get into this and hopefully not screw it up, I guess. Starting with the utility-based perk. After a final blow, your hipfire bullets will give allies an overshield if you hit them. And this will be 3 seconds long after the reload. And I'm basing this off of the many Taken combatants that we have that protect themselves and their allies. For damage, despite what Destiny 1 glazers will say, ultimately the Taken are reskins of other combatants that have had their will stripped from them and are essentially puppeted by their master. This perk is going to take actually inspiration from Rise of Iron, because we dabbled in mind control against foes in Rise of Iron with one of the artifacts. So here's the idea. Final blows give you stacks of blighted corruption, and precision damage has a chance to grant stacks. At 5 stacks, your next body shot will convert your foe to your side. Of course, there would be restrictions to who you could convert, but mainly red bars, maybe some orange bars. Probably wouldn't work in PvP at all. But because of that, and bosses exist and you can't really mind control those, how about we just decrease their damage? They're essentially severed for a short duration after being hit by that shot. Then, for an origin trait, with Malfeasance and Witherhoard existing, I think a nice Taken-themed origin trait would focus on killing Taken. Basically, you just deal more damage to Taken enemies, or enemies that are blighted by Witherhoard. It's a smaller damage buff than you'd get from Malfeasance, but, enough to probably notice it a little bit. Let me know what you think of those Taken perk ideas as we move into Scorn. The Scorn, they're interesting to me. They're basically dead Elixni that are zombified by Dark Ether that was created using wish magic. And the Scorn, although undead, have a culture all their own. Well, at least Fickrel Scorn do. Combining old and new Elixni culture with touches of... with some, Middle Ages Europe sprinkled in there, along with some gothic romantic vampire aesthetic too. It's really changed, Anyways, jumping in, as a utility idea, this one's pretty big. The totems. They're one of the most interesting parts about fighting the Scorn, so why not give them to us? Breaking shields creates a corresponding subclass pickup. After picking up the subclass pickup that matches the weapon, its next kill will create that totem. and then it starts having a cooldown after that. But if the weapon is arc and you pick up a trace, it makes a totem on kill that will pull enemies in. If it's solar, you get the solar totem that burns enemies. If it's void, it gives you and nearby allies void overshield slowly over time. Stasis will send out freezing seekers when it's dealt damage, and the strand will pulse, severing nearby foes. That's a lot to go through, but moving on. Our damage perk, Screebs, baby. No, I'm talking about baby Screebs. Anyways, mini Screebs are cool, so I guess hatchling, but instead of threadlings, it spawns mini Screebs, which is cool, I guess. As an origin trait, with Guardians and Scorn kind of being opposites of each other, with the commonality between the two being the constant resurrections, how about being revived or reviving allies gives this weapon big buffs to stats, reload speed, range, stability? Just a thought. Tell me what you think down below as we finish this video off with the Dread. The Dread are the newest faction in Destiny, as they were introduced in the final shape, but not really. They're more introduced in, I guess you could say, Witch Queen or Lightfall. Neither one of those is incorrect, but they are the direct minions and creations of the Witness. They generally use the powers of the darkness like Stasis and now Strand, but also Resonance. But what the hell is even that? Anyways, even though they're new and may not be used much outside of the final shape, they are being used in Heresy, but I'll give them some time in the sun. As a utility, the whole idea of the Witness and the Dread is the final shape, and using the light and the dark to reshape the universe. So what if we use that philosophy of the Dread against them? Many units in the Dread apply debuffs to you, so what if dealing damage or maybe getting a final blow while affected by a debuff gives you a buff of the same flavor? So if you have a Void debuff applied to you, it reshapes into Devour. Solar debuffs cure you, Arc debuffs will amplify you, Stasis debuffs will shape into Frost Armor, Strand debuffs turn into Woven Mail, and also Tinnitus would just be cleared. Maybe for a damage perk we could get inspired by the annoying bullshit Resonance Cannons. And the Grim too, I guess. Basically, precision kills trigger a resonance explosion that disorients targets, and when enemies are killed by the explosion, they make the roll pervasive darkness things in like 4 directions, damaging and disorienting foes. So yeah, you kill an enemy, 4 cardinal directions, they get hit with damage and are disoriented. As an origin trait, we already have Harmonic Resonance, which is basically Lucent Hive and Dread Hate. So how could we make a new unique origin trait around the Dread? So what if we focus on Resonance and maybe make a reload perk with it? So what if you sent a wave of resonant energy around you as you're reloading, giving a super small damage resistance and deal slight damage and knockback to foes near you? It's basically Electric Cherry from Call of Duty Zombies, if you know what that is. So yeah, that's it for the Dread, and basically the whole video. There's just some ideas of different traits we could have based around the enemy factions in Destiny. Please tell me what you think down below in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe check out Advanced GG. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. See ya.